Hello. How are you? Where's our banner? Where's our logo? What is going on?
The last one for you today, Jen. Is that what this is? I didn't do shit. Don't look at me.
I'm not looking at you. Plus, I feel like you're on the wrong side. Like I'm on the other side from you today.
Well, we can't possibly have that. So let's wait. No.
There we go. Oh, so much better. So much better. So much better. Okay. That looks better. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Thursday night, Generational Change. I am Jen. No.
Are you sure?
I am Jen.
I'm Peter.
And yeah, this is our going to be our last show with you and me together as Generational Change. Don't do that.
Just kidding.
For people, if you're new, welcome. Please hit the like button. We're glad you're here. And for people who are not aware, we are going to be rebranding. And when I get back from a few weeks off, we will be starting our new. It's the same show, guys. It's us, but with a few new fun things. I mean, I don't want people to think we're changing too much because we're not really changing. We're still us.
We're not going to be
just having a little brand redo. We're making our brand a little bit more feisty. I think we're going to look a little bit more feisty.
We're definitely going to be trouble, yeah. That's for sure. That's going to be part of it. Accepting that reality that if you thought we were targeted before.
It's kind of why I'm glad I'll be back from traveling. I don't know if it'll make a difference. I don't know if what's going to happen. I know that I'm just glad I'm coming back by myself and that my boys will already be home. So I'm not going to hold anybody up anywhere if something happens and I get held up.
Yeah. Well, we do have one person in the audience who is happy that we are going early today.
Hello, Travers. I will be heading in your direction tomorrow.
So one of the reasons why we are starting early today is because once in a good while, we do have to make an exception for our guests. Something could come up in their schedule and we want to be as accommodating as possible. And so today we decided to start early, emailed it. Colin, do me a favor and send Steve the link again, please. Sending again. So Steven Donziger informed me that he had a schedule shakeup today. and that he needed to come on early. And this is something that Jen has been very strict about, and I've been pretty strict too.
Well, we like to maintain consistency for our show, but we give grace to certain, human rights lawyers. And just so people I wanted to sort of just say, anyone, if you are a member or you are a patron, nothing will change for you. Nothing will change for you. It'll just, our logo, and it'll look a little bit different, and our name, but it'll be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody who's a member, we will still very much appreciate your membership. Again, we're not really changing. We're still going to be doing exactly what we're doing. But the whole concept of transforming politics into service with a little sunshine is just not where I'm at anymore. So we are transitioning to revolutionary change. I know some people will be a little bit nostalgic for the generational change. My son is very displeased that I'm changing this. But anyhow, but it's important. It's important for us to reflect where we are in terms of what we're trying to do and what our mission is. And we are no longer with the transforming politics into service. So we needed a redo. And so we're going to come out with something really cool that you guys really like.
Just wanted to let you know.
Ah. Oh God, who is it?
Debbie,
it's killing me to know who that is. Peter,
Debbie,
who is it? You know who it is, don't you?
I have no idea. So we, of course, are.
How to be Sam.
We are definitely hurting numbers wise right now, because we are on at a time that was not expected. Again, consistency does matter, but these are the times where having the ability to make an exception, in this case for somebody who we think very, very highly of. For those of you who saw our post that we dropped a little while ago, Steven Donziger is somebody who is actually an OG of our channel. He came on in the very early stages, and he came on at a time where we didn't really have an audience. And he was just going through what he was going through with the Chevron lawsuit and obviously the incarceration. And so to say that he is somebody who is a man of principle would be an understatement. And he has proven that time and again, not just with the work he has done on the environmental side of politics. He has been very bold in the people that he has supported, the people that he has locked arms with. And needless to say, as somebody who is also Jewish like Jen is, has been very outspoken about the liberation of the Palestinian people. To say that he is a friend and somebody that we admire a great deal wouldn't even begin to describe how highly we think of him, and we hope you do as well. So with that said, and since we are on a limited time crunch today, let's welcome in our wonderful guest for, hopefully, without question, not the last time, but the last time under the Generational Change.
Last time on Generational Change.
Steven Donziger, welcome back to Generational Change.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for that nice introduction. I love you guys. Am I picking up that you're shifting the show to a new name?
Yeah, we're changing. I think I was a little bit more optimistic and was still thinking, transforming politics into service. If only we get the right people in there, I was still sort of with that. And now I'm not with that. So I feel like it needs to reflect. So we're going to be revolutionary change. And we're just sort of, we're not going to be sunshine and unicorns anymore.
I don't think we ever were.
I think you're adapting to the new objective reality of the times. That's great.
Yeah, it's always good to see you when you're free. It's always pleasant. So, Peter, did you want to start out with that video and show? I don't know if you've seen this.
Yeah, I want to play this clip. This is something that Jen sent to me on Instagram. I think it is very appropriate for what is going on right now. It is very difficult because in many ways, I'm obviously coming at this from a different place that you two are coming from. You are in the Zionist capital of the United States, and Jen is in the retirement Zionist capital of the United States, but one and the same between New York City and Miami Beach. And so for anybody who's been in a position like you've been in, where you've had to not only speak up and speak out against the tragedy that is going on right now, but it probably has cost you friendships, relationships, as it did for Jen, as it does for a lot of people. And so when everyone is wondering, is everybody okay right now? The fact is that a lot of people are not okay. And that's what this clip is all about.
Yeah.
I'm not okay.
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 People look at me
and ask, How am
I don't know what to say.
I'm not okay. I'm torn into pieces.
I'm not the person I used to be.
I don't know if I will ever recover this trauma.
I'm not okay.
I'm witnessing this endless genocide.
I go to rallies and chant and scream.
Please stop genocide.
Please cease fire. Please free Palestine.
Please do something.
I am not okay, for goodness sake. I remember my dead friend Ali. He died 9 years ago. I still cry when I remember him.
I still cry.
I always cry when I remember him.
He was a beautiful soul.
His best friend Firas asks my friend about me.
I'm not okay. I think of all the beautiful souls lost in Palestine.
How many of them are missed?
Many people left behind, missing them and longing for them.
This isn't right.
This isn't normal.
This isn't fair. This is killing me.
I'm not okay.
Please do something about it. Please do something. And do it now.
Soon is too late.
This can't wait.
My sanity isn't going to last for long.
I am not okay.
If you don't do it for them,
Do something for me. Yes, me.
I'm standing here.
And I'm telling you this.
For the love of God, I'm not okay. I am not okay.
I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
I need a little bit better.
I'm not okay.
I'm not okay. I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
I am not
I'm not okay. I'm not okay.
I am so not okay. Like I've been saying it just like that for like a year and a half. Like it's just amazing that they put that. I mean, like that's what I'm thinking, that I am so not okay. So I know that you, being a human rights lawyer and somebody of conscience, must be in on this in some capacity and contributing in some capacity. So why don't you tell me, like, what can we do? Who can we sue for this, Steve? Who can, how do we get accountability for this ever?
I firmly believe accountability will come with time. It's not fast enough to answer for the intense injustices that thousands and thousands and thousands of people have suffered because of the out of control behavior of the Netanyahu government. The madness of what they're trying to do. But I believe it will come. First of all, let me just say, as a lawyer, I'm well aware of the limitations of the law. The law simultaneously holds great promise and has severe limitations. And anyone who wants to fight for justice on behalf of marginalized peoples only through the law is probably not going to get there. There has to be multi-platform advocacy, often with a legal case as one component of many. And so I just want to say that, like, there's no magic solution through the courts to solve this problem, but there are options through the courts that can help get us to the accountability stage. Obviously, one is South Africa's genocide case before the International Court of Justice, in The Hague, that is moving closer and closer to trial. One thing that's happened from a legal standpoint, and I also think from a political standpoint, is because of the extent of Israel's atrocities, and because what experts, and not me, I'm not like an expert in genocide, but I'm a human being with legal knowledge. There's massive evidence that this is a genocide. As a matter of fact, every single expert in the world on genocide. All the top 7 genocide experts have now concluded that this is a genocide. There's no more debate about that. Once this case gets into a trial phase, I think you're going to see evidence presented that will do even more to punish the government of Israel for what it's doing. I mean, it's already isolated itself politically in the world. But for the financial and military support of the United States government, it couldn't do this. But now you even have countries like the UK and Canada and France, which have firmly pro-Zionist governments, getting to a point where not even they can put up with it. And Donald Trump, as problematic as he is across a whole host of issues, is even losing patience with Netanyahu. So I think that, to answer your question, I'm going on here, but the law can help a lot. I think the genocide law, which was created after World War II, largely in response to the Nazi Holocaust against Jews, against us, will now, in the irony of ironies, be used, I believe, effectively, and it already is, to hold a government accountable that was created in theory to protect Jews. It's the most extraordinary development politically and legally I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, it's just, think about it.
Yeah.
The country that supposedly was created as a Jewish state to protect Jews in the aftermath of the Holocaust is now itself being credibly accused of genocide, and its soldiers, and all the brave citizen journalists in Gaza created through their phones a massive quantum of evidence. I don't see how Israel gets out of this. They'll do the usual dance and try to discredit the court. But ultimately, Jen, I expect that within 2 years, there will be a legal determination from the world's most prestigious international court that Israel committed genocide, and that is going to lead to a whole host of additional problems that I think ultimately could lead to at least some degree of accountability for the government and the officials in that government who are responsible for what, again, experts believe is a genocide. It's just shocking to see it happen before our eyes. But I do believe there will be legal and political accountability at some point.
I personally know there will be karmic accountability throughout this whole thing for all of us, unfortunately, which is this immoral, this moral wrong that we're sort of all suffering. It's like a harm, it's an injury to I'll never be the same. I'll never be the same. And so we're all going through that. And I think that there will be an accounting in that, because the people that we will hold accountable, just ourselves, will be pariah people. Those will be people that will, they'll be like Nazis that went into hiding after World War II, because they'll just be so socially looked down upon. And unfortunately, the reality is most people are just kind of quiet. So most people, we don't know. We know that they don't agree with it. We know that, but most people don't put it out there in a way that they will feel like they're going to be held accountable. And now you see all the people that were thinking that, like Piers Morgan and all these people, now they're starting to see it's a genocide, because they're starting to see it's the winds shift.
I'm not even convinced that they didn't know that it was a genocide from jump. They just didn't see it as being politically expedient to say anything about it. And since we've seen what it's like, obviously the experience of, Jen obviously running against one of the worst Zionists in all of politics, and then of course you living in New York City, has there been any trajectory shift just amongst, people, whether on the Upper East Side or, just within the city in general? Because there is a substantial Zionist population in New York City, but I'm wondering if you've noticed any type of a shift in any way.
Well, so October 7th, 2023 happened. On October 8th, I started to post as a Jew and a human rights attorney saying, okay, this is going to go bad. I called out Israel for having an apartheid system of government, laws that favor Jews over non-Jews, which, by the way, has been confirmed by every major human rights organization in the world, including the leading Israeli human rights organization. There's just no dispute about that. And a lot of my supporters, and I don't have a job. Chevron took my law license because of my work on the Ecuador pollution case. So I'm dependent on raising money for my legal defense fund, essentially to live. Okay. And I lost support on that level, but I also gained a lot of support by speaking out from other sectors. So, some people didn't follow me. I had stress and pressure from family and friends. But, and then I found this to be true fighting Chevron, like if you just know the ground you stand on and stick with it and keep pushing, you actually, even though you lose people along the way, you gain so much more than you lose. Not to mention the feeling of like understanding you're speaking truth to power, which is very satisfying to many people, certainly to me, So probably like you, Jen, I lost friends, but damn, I grew. Obviously, it's not about me. It's about thousands and thousands of Palestinians. But I'm just saying, as an American Jew raised in a Zionist family, like I grew. And I read Rashid Khalidi's book, The 100 Years War in Palestine. I read every word of that. I underlined it. I reread half I was just stunned at the extent to which the truth had been hidden from me.
All of us. All of us.
Excuse me, as I was being raised in this household.
Yeah.
So I'll say this about the genocide trial and accountability. There will be a massive Israeli and US driven campaign to block or minimize media coverage of the accountability process, as if it doesn't matter. It's very hard to find articles on what's happening in the World Court genocide case now. Like it's almost nothing about it in the major US press, even though, again, this is the most important legal case in the world since the Nuremberg trials, I'm telling you. Okay. So we, as people of conscience, have to put it out there, make sure this stuff gets covered, make sure people know about it and talk about it constantly. Because I promise you're not going to find it on CNN, MSNBC, or in the New York Times, other than here and there in a marginal way.
Yeah. I also before you go into the next thing, Peter, let's just distinguish for people, because I know that what you're talking about is the International Court of Justice. That's regarding the suit filed by South Africa.
Yeah.
But it's also important to note that the International Criminal Court also is having whatever their proceedings, and I don't know the status of those either, but I do know they did issue arrest warrants, at least for Nettie Hoo and the other guy.
Yeah.
So, right. But unfortunately, when I saw that somebody like, let's say, Genocide Joe gets diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer, unfortunately, he won't live long enough to see his accountability for this. But I'm waiting for there to be more arrest warrants from the ICC.
Yeah.
That don't just include those two people. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing too, because there's a lot of people that need to be in that.
I agree. And I'll say that there's a group called Dawn, which is Democracy in the Arab World Now, which is started by Jamal Khashoggi, murdered by Saudi Arabia, a journalist. A friend of mine, Sarah Lee Whitson, is a lawyer who runs that organization. They sent a letter to the International Criminal Court. That's a different court, as you point out, from the World Court, the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice deals with disputes between nations. South Africa suing Israel over genocide. The criminal court actually deals with criminal violations by individuals, crimes against humanity by individuals. Two different courts, but really they're trying to achieve the same objective of accountability. So I lost my train of thought. What was I about to say?
I don't know. I'm a pothead. That happens to me all the time.
In any event, those arrest warrants are really good signs. Oh, I was going to say, Dawn, the group run by my friend, sent a letter to the ICC naming 50 high-level Israeli military officials that they wanted to be investigated for potential arrest under the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. So there are dozens of additional high-level, decision makers who are carrying out what experts believe is a genocide in Gaza, who could face potential arrest warrants and personal accountability.
I hope so. And now I know that the Hind Rajab Foundation, I don't know if you've been following their work at all. Are you familiar with them?
No.
So the Hind Rajab Foundation is essentially a la the Simon Wiesenthal way of going about handling it. And they are now starting to arrest anybody who involved IOF based on social media when they travel abroad. And they're going to start hunting them down. And this is like, it's really cool. So I appreciate that. I don't know all the details of like what their jurisdictions are in there, but they're based in Belgium. So it's based in wherever people go that you're not supposed to be now that you've been dabbling in war crimes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's not just going to be the people that were complicit. There's also going to be those who were front and center and very happy to support what's going on. Wasserman Schultz, of course, is one of the most recognizable faces, but so is whom I believe, I could be wrong, Steven, but is Ritchie Torres your congressman?
No, but he's nearby.
He is my least favorite person in Congress, and that says a lot.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
You gotta earn that distinction. That's hard.
I'm saying, and I'm in Debbie's district. He disgusts me on so many different levels, like the intersectionality of my disgust for Ritchie Torres, like knows no bounds.
I also think the biggest difference between Debbie and Ritchie is that Debbie never pretended to not be a scumbag. Like Ritchie got into Congress as I'm black, I'm gay, I'm Latino. It's all these things. I'm like you guys. I'm progressive. I was inspired.
And now I'm a Zio.
Can't get more Zio than this guy. But let me tell you, it's one thing if you espouse these things. It's another thing entirely if you start basically being the the thought police, if you will, and calling up all of your Zionist organizations to get our friend Guy Christensen, who has been an amazing activist on behalf of the Palestinian cause. He got him on the cover of the New York Post. And as it turns out, Guy did decide to comment on this earlier today. Got this from Instagram.
A member of Congress who's an AIPAC millionaire is trying to sick the Capitol Police to go after me after I made a video on him exposing his genocidal rhetoric and friendships with Israeli war criminals, hoping that one day he would be held accountable for his crimes in a similar manner that the perpetrators of the Holocaust were held accountable in the Nuremberg trials after World War II. This is Ritchie Torres. He represents the Bronx district in the House, and he's taken well over $1 million from AIPAC, one of the largest spenders in the pro-Israel lobby, who has capped.
Just look at that number. Just look at that number. Pro-Israel interests spent over $250 million on U.S. elections in 2024 alone. And we all know that that number is going to go up, especially as they start to lose control, as they are losing control. But the obscenity from this one block, the Israel lobby, this type of money is absolute insanity as far as I'm concerned.
Well, this is my analysis of that. First of all, there's two congresspersons who I am friends with who just got booted out because of this money. Jamal Bowman from New York and Cori Bush from St. Louis, both of whom are African American. And now they're going after Summer Lee, another African American progressive who represents Pittsburgh in Congress. This is, to me, a mortal threat to one of many now, unfortunately, to our democracy. It ties into the larger issue. Sorry, my throat's a little dry. That our Supreme Court has allowed unlimited money. I think I'm talking too much. Unlimited money to influence elections. And, what AIPAC does, I actually believe this sounds a bit like a trope, so I got to be careful. But they have so much influence that they essentially control, on behalf of the Israeli government, a foreign government, U.S. government policy in the Middle East. It's the most extraordinary thing. It's like Biden, go back to Biden, he couldn't take one small step out of fear of offending those that are donating this money to maintain support for this, again, what experts believe is a genocidal policy that we are financing with our tax dollars. Okay. So you know, I'm older than you guys, right? Like I've been watching this show since I became a conscious political being in the 1980 election. That was the first election I voted in. I voted for Jimmy Carter, who lost to Ronald Reagan that year. But I've seen the evolution of the control of this money over our Congress and our executive branch and our political system for decades now, and it is overwhelming at this point. I mean, there was a time, it was always strong, but there was a time in the 80s and the 90s where it would back candidates who advocated for a two-state solution. It would, support the Labor Party in Israel, not just these extreme right-wingers, the Likud and the other, Ben Gvir and Smotrich and these like extremist, racist parties in Israel that are now part of the government. So, this group has been hijacked by the most extremist elements in Israeli society, deeply racist elements, people who deny even the existence of a Palestinian people who want to extinguish, if not exterminate, the Palestinians, or at least expel them forcibly from Gaza and the West Bank. So, it's gone from a kind of in a Zionist context, a kind of a centrist organization, to one that's allied with the most extremist elements in Israeli society that are now again carrying out these mass war crimes and mass atrocities in Gaza. And I've seen it with my own eyes, and they love to get scalps. They spent, I think, a record amount of money in a congressional race to unseat Jamal Bowman. I think $20 million. Like he couldn't compete, and they're just sending a message to the other 434 members of the House, not to mention the 100 members of the Senate, that we will do this to you if you don't maintain your support for us, or at least don't oppose it too vociferously, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is an organization that has gone way beyond the idea of protecting Israel, whatever you want to call Israel, to one that's actively interfering in the functioning of our democracy and our government. I mean, what other country in the world lets a foreign government can essentially run its policy in a major part of the world? I mean, folks, that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if China did that?
I'd prefer it, actually. I think
saying,
I'd prefer China to.
How about neither? How about neither? Let's continue.
Nobody should, but I'm just saying, just the double standard is what I'm trying to point out. Like,
yeah.
suppose China started a PAC.
Oh, if it was the
gave
American
hundreds of millions of dollars,
right?
What? Or like there was a group of Chinese Americans who did this on behalf of the Chinese government. I mean, it couldn't happen. They'd all be brought up on criminal charges and put in jail. But this group that's aligned with Israel does it with impunity. No one even says anything about it. And Ritchie Torres, by the way, is someone who's made a cold, I would say, mercenary-like political calculation that he's going to get in bed with people who are destroying human life because he thinks he can get reelected more easily that way. It's honestly disgusting. I have no respect for that guy. None.
This is actually somewhat the fact that he called out Guy and is putting like a target on him, like publicly putting a target on him.
19 years old.
Yeah, is so despicable. That is not a congressperson's job. Is not to put targets to content creators based on their content.
Well, I'll say this: you're totally right. I want to mention something about Guy. Like, I don't agree with everything Guy says, but his viewpoint is something you do not see in the corporate dependent media in this country. Like that clarity, that just basic facts is something that we have. I mean, Jen, I was denied that perspective my whole life. I blame myself for not seeking it out more aggressively, but I was a little busy fighting an oil company for many years. Didn't have a ton of time. But like that perspective, not just him, but others, is really important, and you can only find it online. So for a congressman, it's totally inappropriate and out of his lane as a member of Congress to do that. That he's trying to politicize the Capitol Police against this person because of the content of his viewpoint.
It's dangerous.
And it's, but of course, we're seeing that constantly with the Department of Justice under Trump. We're seeing it with Columbia University. We're seeing it in many sectors of our society. I just, as an aside, I know we want to get to other topics. I just spent the weekend reading a book called Hitler's First 100 Days. I recommend it to both of you and to everyone out there. And I picked up this book. It's a really good book. It's been around for a bit. Major historian wrote it. And I wanted to like read what exactly happened that allowed Hitler to take power to the extent that he did and see if there were any parallels to what we're seeing now in our society. And it was extremely illuminating. And one of the things is people who had independent voices like Guy were severely attacked, and Germany arrested, put even in concentration camps just for opposing the Nazi ideology. And like, this is the authoritarian, I mean, that was blatantly fascist, you know, whatever you want to call it. There is a minimum, an authoritarian playbook being implemented right now by Trump. And part of that is to attack independent voices like this young man, me. I'm sure you guys get flack all the time. And we all have to be really vigilant because they are not into free speech when it comes to progressive voices.
Especially because they're losing their power now.
They are,
most of our
agree with
Congress.
you. Yeah.
In 2024, AIPAC spent money on most of the congressional races and won 386 seats. That's a majority of our entire Congress, dominated by a pro-Israel lobby. AIPAC's #1 job here in the United States is to make sure that our government keeps sending Israel bombs. That's it. Taking money from them is so criminal, so morally bankrupt. I really can't put it into more words without wasting more time in this video. It's blood money. And Ritchie Torres has enjoyed his trips to Israel. He's enjoyed meeting the war criminals who have carried out this genocide, who have spouted genocidal and dehumanizing rhetoric against the Palestinians, which Ritchie does as well. So when I made a video about Ritchie and how he's taken blood-stained money and raised awareness about the criminals who are in our government, he took notice, and he spent the last week slandering me as an anti-Semite, which is a claim that has no backing. There's no truth behind it whatsoever. Anybody who knows who I am, has heard what I have to say online, knows that I don't have any problem with Jewish people at all. Nothing. Nothing. Now, in complete honesty, I thought it was funny watching Ritchie freak out over what I had posted about him. His libel against me didn't bother me. But just an hour ago, he went to the New York Shitpost and gave them the scoop on how he's sicking the Capitol Police after me to investigate me for supposed threats of violence, another claim which has no truth to it. In my video, and this is what he twists up, I say, "Now Ritchie, screenshots last forever. What you have done will haunt your family for eternity. And if you're still alive, you will end up in a Nuremberg trial." The meaning behind that is pretty obvious. I'm saying that when justice comes for Palestine, if Ritchie's still alive, meaning not old and dead and deceased or whatever, he will end up in the court alongside the rest of the people there. But there's some people, especially in our government, who are way too old that I don't expect to see in a Nuremberg trial, like Joe Biden has cancer, who unfortunately won't be alive by the time justice reaches the Palestinian people, and he won't have his day in court. That's an example of somebody who won't be alive to end up in a Nuremberg trial. And that's all I meant by that. But of course, as this whole week has been a massive character assassination on me, attempting to discredit me, labeling me as gay, or it's so wild. New York Post calling me babyface in every article they publish about me. Their gutter journalism is exactly why nobody takes the New York seriously.
New York Shitpost, that's a good one. I like that one. But what it also says to me, Steve, is that the more they come after people, the more desperate they're becoming, because they know that they're running out of real estate. They know that their methods are not working anymore. I tell everybody, you call me an anti-Semite, I don't give a fuck. Call me whatever you want.
I don't care anymore.
And people used to get like, "Oh, I'm not an anti-Semite." Gives a shit.
I don't care anymore.
What matters is that you're on the right side of history. This has been a genocide since day one. People forget that this has been a genocide before October 7th. there were at least 700 Palestinians that were mass murdered by Israel in 2023 prior to October 7th. So that in itself, they've simply just bitten off more than they can chew. And this is like the whole thing about Trump being in power and why, in a way, it's a silver lining, because Trump removes the entire mask. Like, there is nothing to hide. Anything that's there is going to be exposed. And eventually everyone is going to learn that that's essentially how things operate. But what we have learned is that Americans overall, they're not on board with this shit. They're just not.
No, and that's even with the deception propagated by the corporate dependent media, where half the stuff is never even reported on. I mean, and by the way, the official death toll in Gaza is much worse than what the New York Times reports. It's like 53,000 according to the Hamas-run Gaza Ministry of Health, right, which is a totally credible health ministry. It's been had super conservative in how it estimates death. But I have calculated, and you can read this, everyone, on my Substack, which is called Donziger on Justice. I calculated as of February 11th of this year that 306,000 people have been killed in Gaza by Israel, which is 14% of Gaza's pre-conflict population. And I calculated that based not only on direct deaths, which is what military killing people, airstrikes, targeted assassinations and the like, but also indirect deaths from hunger, lack of medical care, lack of food, water, lack of shelter, lack of basic necessities like disease caused by the complete breakdown of sanitation in the food system. There are hundreds of thousands of people who have died. I mean, I estimate at this point around 350,000. And that's based, by the way, on a calculation by The Lancet, which is a peer-reviewed, very prestigious medical journal that ran the numbers and estimated there were about 700 people dying a day from indirect causes. And that is never calculated in any of the articles. It is so much worse than what people realize. And even my estimate, I mean,
I've been thinking, I'm in line with that. I was probably, I'm thinking around 500,000 people.
Yeah, I'm saying, I think my estimate's conservative. And even the Lancet's estimate, which is mine, is based on, they say it's conservative. So this 53,000 number is a just super underestimate. It's sort of a gift to the Israeli government. People need to start understanding the real figures about the extent of the death and from, all these other causes that is now happening in Gaza.
Steve, I know your time is limited, but we do want to get your thoughts. Obviously, the mayoral race is 4 weeks away. I was 4 weeks away from Tuesday. So this is right around the corner. It does appear that New York Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani has a puncher's chance of pulling this off, which obviously would be a hell of a shakeup in New York City. We all know about Andrew Cuomo, and he's convinced he's going to come back. But one thing I would try to warn people is that you're recognizing just how corrupt the system really is, because all these politicians, especially mayors of major cities, are figureheads. He is making every illicit backroom deal probably known to man in order to make this happen. He's also very out in front in support of Israel. Of course, Zohran has obviously been very vocal about the Palestinians. How do you see this race unfolding at this point? And, what do you attribute the questionable level of support that Cuomo is getting right now?
Well, the answer to that last part of your question is it's all about money. A lot of the moneyed interests, the real estate developers, the business interests, to some extent, some of the unions who are comfortable with working with Cuomo because these are large entities that want to make money, and they're sort of more comfortable working with what I would call, flexibly corrupt figures than they would be with someone with integrity like Zohran or Brad Lander. I mean, what concerns me now, first of all, I think Zohran has run an excellent campaign. I met him recently. I think his platform is, it's just a rocket ship. It's heading to the moon. I love it. Okay. But, you know, there's a lot of other good candidates, you know, Jessica Ramos, Brad Lander, the comptroller who I know. I don't get super involved in local politics other than I just love all these progressive candidates putting it out there. What bothers me is the progressives are splitting the vote. So you have sort of Cuomo on one side, who's at like 35%, Zohran's at 22%, Brad Lander's at 10%. And I mean, the left has to shake out and unite for Cuomo to be defeated. And, you know, I know there's ranked choice voting. You know, we'll see how that shakes out in this election. But I do believe Zohran has a chance. He's a strong #2 in the polls, and there's a lot of votes of progressives behind him who, if they were to go to him, he could win this.
I think you're right. And I think it also depends on how they rank what that ultimately is going to look like. I hope that the city of New York learns their lesson. We saw what happened with Yulee New against Mr. Goldman. She absolutely should have been in Congress. She's been a guest on our podcast multiple times. She would have been a much better representative. And of course, she wasn't corporate bought, which of course, you know, when it's not enough that you're the heir to the Levi Strauss jeans fortune. You're also a corporate whore and you're a Zionist Nazi on top of everything else. So I hope that there is that lesson learned. And I think if anybody is obvious at this point that the two crossover candidates, without question, for Zohran is going to be Brad Lander and Jessica Ramos. They share about 12 to 14% of the vote.
They need to get in line behind him and be cooperative.
Yeah. How do you, I mean, do you think there's any chance of that happening?
Well,
look,
I think
we hold out hope, but you know, the problem is in leftist circles, there's too many feelings and too many egos, and a lot of times people can't get past either, and then they don't think of strategy.
And I also think it's very important that these conversations are happening right now, because you better believe that Cuomo, who again, he was the freaking governor of New York, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who's going over to Scott Stringer as we speak, basically saying, "What do you want in my administration? Like what's going to take for you to go tell your people to vote for me on the second or third line?" Because he's doing that. Like, he's working the phones. I assume Zohran is doing that as well. But I agree with what you alluded to, which is this whole idea of, you know, where is the corporate infrastructure of New York City going to go? It's clearly going to go to Cuomo. Does Zohran have enough grassroots support to pull this off? I don't know if you've seen this or not. This is a 30-second ad that apparently is dropping all over the city today. This happened earlier today.
I'm Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, and I'm running for mayor to freeze the rent for every rent-stabilized tenant.
Wait, you're gonna freeze my rent?
Yes.
Did I hear rent freeze?
Yes! This guy's gonna freeze the rent.
No hike?
None.
This guy's gonna freeze the rent.
It's true. As your next mayor, I will freeze your rent.
Paid for by Zohran for NYC.
I vote for him because he's a cutie patootie. I got to tell you that
let me tell you something. The two videos you show me, that one and the guy, I mean, those are powerful videos. That is a beautiful illustration of how to utilize social media. I actually look at the other ads on social media for Brad and the other able candidates. Zohran is working these social media angles so effectively.
Good.
I mean, listen, Cuomo's going to clean up in, obviously, you know, the upper east and west sides of Manhattan. He'll clean up in Staten Island. He's going to clean up in parts of Queens. But you know what? Between lower Manhattan, obviously portions of Queens, and obviously the Bronx and Brooklyn, I mean, Zohran just has to get people out there. And if he does, I think he's got a chance. I mean, I agree with you. No one is enthusiastically supporting Cuomo, but people are enthusiastically supporting Zohran. And
that's totally true. And a lot of people who vote for Cuomo are going to be holding their nose when they do it. I mean, Cuomo just has a bad reputation here. It's hard to find someone who really likes him. I think that his support comes from just pure transactional money play. I really do, from industries.
I hate to say it too, brother, but this is the saddest part about politics. The name ID is still a factor. Like, people just know the Cuomo name, especially what is being shown is the older Black and Latino voters are breaking for Cuomo because, as somebody mentioned, Mario Cuomo was a very revered politician in New York City, but his sons are not him at all.
Not even close. I mean, I know two of my close friends worked with Cuomo for many years in government, and the stories they tell are not flattering. And Lindsay Boylan, I don't know if you know her,
Yes.
Yeah.
Lindsay's a friend of mine who, I mean, her story about what Cuomo
We've had
did
her
to
on.
Yeah.
We've had Lindsay on, yeah.
She's excellent. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see how it shakes out. It's a real critical race because I think it can be a real referendum on a lot of the Trump stuff. If we can get a progressive socialist into office running the nation's largest city, that'll be a huge sort of vibe force and karma force and counterweight to what Trump is trying to do. And frankly, it would launch Zohran into a national political leader.
Couldn't agree more. I know your time is obviously limited today. We can't thank you enough, obviously, for coming on and for continuing to do what you do.
Well, I appreciate that. And I just want to say to you guys, thank you for what you do. Listen, independent media like this podcast is absolutely vital to the health of our country and to the future of our freedoms and our democracy. You guys are really good at this. You've had me on, a few times, including when I was really at a low point on my detention. For those who don't know, I was detained by Chevron in the nation's first corporate prosecution, but we're good now. We're through that, and we're fighting on a whole host of issues, including, of course, on behalf of the Amazon communities of Ecuador, who still suffer for years and years cancers and other debilitating diseases related to the fact that Chevron just decided to dump billions of gallons of oil waste into rivers and streams that people drink water out of. That's what they did in Ecuador. Don't forget the Amazon communities of Ecuador. We're still fighting for them and fighting, obviously, for justice for the people of Gaza and for a better future that we all deserve in this country. And I love you guys, man. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Congratulations on the relaunch, too. I can't
All
wait
right.
to come
We'll
back
have you
on the
back
next
when we're
iteration.
really revolutionary. But guys, all of Steve's links will be in the description. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, brother.
So I just wanted to say something based on what Steve was just saying. Like the link between what's going on in Gaza and what's going on in Ecuador, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It is oppression. It is white supremacy. It is corporatism. It is greed. It's all of those things, but it is by the same people. Make no mistake. The oil industry is the same oil industry that is screwing with Ecuador, is the same oil industry that has their interests in West Asia and it's all connected. None of us are free until all of us are free. It's that simple. So it doesn't matter whether it's Palestinians or Amazonians, Ecuadorians, I don't know. And whatever. Well, the Amazon's bigger than one country. So
that's
anywho. But yeah, it's all connected.
We appreciate you all being here. Obviously, we had to make an exception for our good friend. We would normally be starting right about now. But if you are so inclined, remember, guys, go over to patreon.com/generational change for as little as $5 a month. You could become a supporter of our small but mighty channel that is growing. We did pass the 25,000 subscriber mark.
Woo! Did you scroll? Because we had a new 5.
Yes, I did scroll.
Okay, because I went in and put it in today already.
No, it is early, and hopefully we'll have some more super chats, but we've already got S. Kolachuk with the 2 Canadian A. Donziger is one of my heroes. Hey, he's one of ours.
He's worthy.
He is worthy.
He's worthy. He lost his livelihood for doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing. Exactly. He did the right thing. Chris Garrett, always a pleasure. Thank you for being here, for being 16-month YouTube member. That's definitely one of our oldest for sure. And Jen, of course, is going to be adopting her current outfit in Ireland, and it will probably be very well received.
I'm not packing any of this. Are you kidding me? I'm already thinking I'm going to get held up at the airport. I don't need to be fanning flames of ice while I'm traveling.
That's what you should do. Yalla bike.
No, There's no
Well,
need.
thank you for the $4.99. John McKenty, ex-Trump staffer and creator of The Right Stuff, seems subtly anti-Israel. Thoughts? He is also secretly for single payer. Watch him. Listen, there's a lot of people. Look, we had Clint Russell, one of the more noted populist libertarian podcasters out there, say, if you 86 the Fed, I'll support single payer. I'm like, don't threaten us with a good time.
That's what I know. Like, we'll agree with them. Claire, I'm not worried about what happens to me in Ireland. I'm not worried about this in Ireland. I'm worried about ICE. You know, that rogue agency that shouldn't even exist, that just somehow has, is the Gestapo here.
Yalabite, thank you for the $4.99 once again. Aside him being on the correct side of Palestine, Zohran is too left and SJW for my taste and won't be able to connect with outside NYC. Look, at the end of the day, here's what I would say.
But wait. Isn't he only running in NYC?
He is.
Okay.
It's only New York City. But here's what I would say. Yeah. Even if you're dealing with a person who is woke, and it depends on what your definition of woke is and how you're basing that. But here's what I would say. Is he bought and paid for by corporate special interests? If the answer is no, then that other stuff I don't really care about. I just don't. Don't push it on me because I have no interest in it. But if you're clean, as he's alluded to, he doesn't support taking that corporate special interest money, then to me, that's the most important part of all of this. Andrew Cuomo, if I become the mayor, it'll be even more dirty at Gracie Mansion than it is in Albany. And that's what will happen. Could you even imagine the type of backroom deals that Cuomo is making right now? Because I sure as hell can. Mark J, thank you so much for the $2. You two are among my heroes. We can't do this without your support, everybody's support. It certainly makes things a lot easier to do. And of course, another MVP of our channel on the front end, we now have Brett Boyle as our mod. Thank you for the Canadian A. Love the hosts, guests, and conversations. We hope you all do, because that's why we're here.
I see Harashnu. Hi, Jen and Pete. What's going on? Why didn't we get a notification? You know why you didn't get a notification. You know why. Big Brother's watching. But we did go early. Always watching.
But this is always an exception to the rule. So we make this one exception today.
No, it's one thing to go. Also, it's another thing when somebody asks us to go an hour early versus somebody asking for us to go in the afternoon. Right? Like that, it's not one, sometimes it's a lot more doable than others.
Yeah, I would agree because, right now and let's be honest, the one thing that we've noticed, which I think is a hallmark of the growth of this channel, which is reflected in the same sort of trajectory that Due Dissonance is on, we have been able to garner a lot more viewership from overseas, particularly in Europe. We're noticing a lot of people from the UK, a lot of people from Scandinavia. That's great. To me, I think that is reflective in the growth of our channel because having that international support is also very good because you're talking about people from other parts of the world who are saying, yeah, the things that we have over here that we kind of take for granted, if only you guys knew what it was like to have your basic needs met, like healthcare and education. There you go. Jimmy's over in France. So there you go. So you get an idea. And
this is thing. We need to start treating this like like the French would do this. Like we need to French this stuff, right? Well, yeah, they don't tolerate this bullshit, but I would think that for the Scandinavian people that watch us, we must be like some pathetic looking science experiment to you people. Like they must look at us like, oh, these poor pitiful, like kind of like lab rats. Maybe, I don't know, like how we're so stupid. We don't educate our people. We don't take care of our parents, our new mothers. We don't none of that. Don't care at all. I am it's sort of how I feel like how aliens would feel, people from outer space, things from outer space. Like, why would they be interested in us? We're so pathetic. I don't understand. Like, that's sort of how I feel about Norwegians watching us. Like, what's in it for you?
Important stuff, Jen. Joe Gentile, thank you so much for the $5. We really
Gentile or Gentile?
Gentile, I think.
I say no, because no, I think it's Gentile.
Okay, Joe Gentile.
And
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Gentile is always the term that I was taught to use for non-Jewish people.
It's all stupid to me.
Well, okay, that might be, but it's not derogatory.
No. Chris Garrett, thank you so much for the $5. We really appreciate your support. And obviously, Donziger is it a people's or the people's hero? Either way, he is without question a hero that we care about very much. So, Jen, you obviously wanted us to cover this Democracy Now! Clip that is.
Yeah, but I think, well, that was if you wanted, I mean, this is if we wanted to cover the food distribution that went down and what that entails. And Jeremy Scahill gives, like, he sums it up so perfectly what the problem with why this is bogus. So I just was saying to you, if we wanted to look at that, that sort of explains it better than I ever could. How this food aid and distribution is bullshit. It's not meant to help them.
No, it's not meant to help them. And, you know, we were questioning whether we would bring up our friend, former friend at this point. But, you know, we have always had a very cordial relationship with Congresswoman Sheila Sherfilis McCormick. But she the other day decided to do a photo op with Netanyahu. Jen doesn't want me using his real name.
No.
Fine.
Hold on a second. I have to address this. Speak for your community. Unless you speak Spanish or African-American, Latinx, or American, don't speak for other communities of color in the USA not taking care of their elderly. I was talking about us as a nation state in terms of our policies, and we don't take care of our people.
You see, guys, that's the type. Who just wrote this? Who wrote that comment?
It's just I wasn't speaking about.
Excuse me. Let me.
Sorry.
This is the type of overwoke nonsense that has no business in politics. It just doesn't. And if you want to talk like that, go to another channel, because that shit's not welcome here.
It's just silly. I mean, I'm talking about how our policies are reflected in our legislation when people in Norway or Finland rather get 3 years of paternal or family leave, and we don't get that at all. That is nothing to do with what color you are, what community you live in. That has to do with if you're in this country, that's what you get. Yeah. So I don't appreciate whatever, you know, condescending shit that was supposed to be.
Just finding a reason to be offended, which unfortunately a lot of people tend to do.
Oh, good grief.
So, yeah, I think it's the propaganda that is going to continue to come out regarding how much aid is being allowed in to Gaza right now. If any of you have seen the pictures, Colin, if you could grab one of the pictures real quick of the what appeared to be, I don't even know how you would describe it.
It's a concentration camp fence.
It's a concentration camp. I mean, that's
well, it's like or like corral for cattle. It's like how you would treat, and that, make no mistake, that the intentional starvation, in addition to the getting rid of UNRWA, in addition to how they're handling their aid, all of it is designed not just to kill them, but to completely degrade and dehumanize them. Do you have any idea how disgusting you have to be to think that this is an acceptable way to help people in need? Line them up in corrals in the hot sun to sit around and wait for a box of what they don't even need. It's just all bullshit. But anyway, I'm not sure what this post is if you want to talk about it. But
well, this is a post from your friends over at Jewish Voice for Peace. The mercenaries in the U.S.-Israeli government's so-called aid operation in Gaza, run by military contractors, because of course it is, and resembling prison concentration camps, are firing on the very Palestinians it's supposed to help. Can you imagine trying to line up like caged animals to get some type of humanitarian aid? And what do the Zionists decide to do? Shoot them.
Well, that's why they're doing it this way. That's exactly the point. When you starve people for 90 days, and then you trickle in and you set it up in a way to create chaos, You're doing it so that you can justify killing them. That is 100% why they do it this way. And there is even a more nefarious motive that Jeremy will explain, which has to do like facial recognition and starting to register them. Yeah, that kind of Nazi scary shit. That's not about helping them. If this was about helping them, they would have left UNRWA alone. And if they were about helping them, they would maybe stop bombing them. But Jeremy Scahill, who I think is great, has done some really good work lately covering this. I mean, not just this, but all things Hamas. And in fact, had a meeting with and an interview with Hamas leadership not that long ago and has put out a lot of information from that meeting. And it was just, yeah, he's been killing it. I'd love to have him on. But anyway, he does a really good job explaining the aid setup that we have in Gaza.
Starving Palestinians forced to wait for hours in the sun. I mean, you want to talk about the sun. Why don't you talk about how hot the sun is? Like probably 120 degrees in the sun outside.
And they're already starving.
Yeah. An aid facility near Al-Mawasi in Rafah, after walking an average of 9.3 miles.
Exactly.
Finally surged inside after
they set up the food far away from where the people are so that they would have to do that.
Mm-hmm. After relentless delays and invasive surveillance and security checks, not just in search of food, but in an attempt to survive. Apparently, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF, a U.S.-funded, Swiss-registered operation led by a former U.S. Marine, set up by the bypass-established NGOs and UN agencies.
It's run by spooks.
Lost control of the facility and fled. So they just left them there. Mm-hmm. As elderly Palestinian man's family reported, an elderly Palestinian man's family reported that he was kidnapped by the Israeli military after approaching the Mirage Crossing.
Yes.
Site for a box of food. Meanwhile,
they're using it as that's another thing. They're using it as a means to take people and kidnap them.
Yep. Meanwhile, GHF faces internal collapse, and its own administration is stepping down because of ethical concerns, you think. At least one person claimed he was unable to carry out GHF's mission without violating basic humanitarian principles. GHF's plan to deliver and through 4 heavily guarded hubs falls massively short of meeting the people of Gaza's urgent needs, leaving nearly half of the Palestinian population without aid access and excluding the most vulnerable. The UN has already refused to work with the GHF. UN spokesperson Farhan Haq has confirmed that this particular distribution plan does not accord with our basic principles, including those impartiality, neutrality, independence, and we will not be participating in this. How much longer is this, Colin?
I want to. I see. That's why I wanted to show it. It would have been much easier to just let him.
Yeah, no, I'll just finish it up. This is the grim reality for Palestinians trapped under siege by the Israeli military. Insufficient aid, poorly organized, delivered at gunpoint by military contractors in coordination with the Israeli military. Instead of GHF, established international organizations operating under the UN should be granted full, safe, and unlimited access to deliver aid effectively, impartially, and with dignity. There is no time to waste. Stop funding the Israeli military, end the siege, let in UN coordinated aid, demand an immediate ceasefire, end the occupation, free Palestine.
Yeah, that was unnecessarily lengthy. But I really think that Jeremy did a really good job saying what I wanted to make sure people know about the actual aid process and how nefarious it is.
Well, Amy, we should be very clear that this cutout of a company, cutout is a term of espionage. It was established by people with ties to the CIA and Israeli intelligence.
Something's wrong with this.
Was meant to serve as part of Netanyahu's war of annihilation. Netanyahu himself said the quiet part out loud in a recent speech when he said that he was getting some pressure even from his most passionate backers in the Republicans in the Senate. And he said, that they didn't want the optics of starving Palestinians and that this could hinder the ability of the United States to continue arming and supporting Netanyahu. And so they wanted to give the veneer of some form of aid. And Netanyahu and Israel have been at war against UNRWA, the UN agency that was established in the aftermath of the Nakba in the late 1940s when the state of Israel was imposed on Palestine as a European colonial settler state. And so this serves two purposes. It allowed Netanyahu to say, look, we're letting aid in and we're doing it so that Hamas can't steal it, which, by the way, was a lie. And even Biden's top humanitarian official, David Satterfield, said this week that there was no evidence ever presented by Israel that Hamas was stealing or hoarding the aid. So part of it.
This has been a conversation that never ends, but it's a lie. It's a big lie. Hitler always said that the bigger the lie, the more people will believe it. Well, you know what? They've told this lie so long, forever, that I just don't know who the hell is still falling for it other than those who are completely indoctrinated by the Zionist cause. But anytime you hear it was Hamas's fault, who is really still believing that, I think is the question.
Nobody. And this is this is why this is such a good clip. So he does the preface as to why they're even pretending to let food in. And then we'll get into and how they're doing that, and against the backdrop, by the way, of how for years and years and years they've been trying to get rid of UNRWA. And if you do not know what UNRWA is, UNRWA exists to support Palestinian refugees. And they want to get rid of UNRWA because without UNRWA, they no longer have to worry about that pesky right of return of refugees if they no longer have refugees. Anyhow.
It was to give the veneer of we're doing something humanitarian. The other part of it was to continue the war against UNRWA, to destroy the premier aid organization serving Palestinian refugees, forcibly displaced people. And UNRWA, its very existence, Netanyahu and Israel hate because it recognizes the international laws that say that the Palestinians have a right to return to their land that they started to lose in 1947, 1948 when the Nakba began. So they created this shell company with ties to American intelligence officers as a way of further destroying UNRWA, but also serving Netanyahu's agenda. They then bring in an American mercenary company.
That's it right there.
Blackwater style guys that you saw in Iraq and Afghanistan throughout the so-called war on terror. And then they created what international aid officials have said are concentration camp or internment camp like conditions. Others have likened it to ghetto style conditions where Palestinians are going to be forced to stand out in the heat all day in barbed wire fence enclosures looking like a cage. And then they get a box with a paltry amount of food aid in it. There's no medicine. There's no infant formula. This is all just trickery that is being used to further the genocide. And Amy, I've been talking.
I always wanted to tell you, Peter, do you know what the food is in the boxes that they were handing out briefly?
It's probably very similar to the type of stuff that we would see at Feeding South Florida.
Yes, exactly. They would give, after walking for 9 miles, let's say, a person is given a box to maybe feed a family of 4 one meal. And it's random stuff that it's like a can of this, a can of that. Like it's not anything that is helpful.
When Jen was creating degrees of momentum against Wasserman Schultz, we had this great friend who we're still friends with today that runs a real awesome nonprofit food distribution.
Yes.
Fresh fruits and vegetables, eggs.
It's predominantly healthy food for people. I mean, yes, there's some packaged stuff that she has, but yeah.
The fresh fruits and vegetables is what makes the difference. I mean, I volunteered at least once a month when I was down there. And of course, I would take my own container of fresh fruits and vegetables. I wasn't, that was my compensation, was being able to take fresh fruits and vegetables.
And we did that.
When we volunteered, we did once volunteer at Feeding South Florida. You want to talk about night and day?
Oh, it's gross.
Because remember, Feeding South Florida is Feeding America. It's just a branch off of that nonprofit major corporation.
It's
That's
an
what it is.
NGO problem.
100%. So you look at the quality of food that came from Mobile School Pantry versus Feeding South Florida, and you'll understand that the Feeding South Florida type food, basically everything in cans, that's what's ending up at places like this.
And here's the problem. When you had UNRWA or other that are actual humanitarian organizations that actually want to help the people, what they do and how they organize and how they set up as organizations that have been doing this forever is in a way that doesn't lead to chaos and gets people the nutrition that they need. So somebody doesn't need something like Travers was saying that needs to get cooked and mixed with water. They don't have water. So, these aid packages that they're getting are a joke for the few people that are getting them. Whereas if you had one of the actual aid organizations, people would be getting what they actually need in a dignified and organized manner. But that's the point. Yeah, continue.
A personal friend of mine whose family is from Khan Yunis, 4 members of his family were shot sniper style yesterday by the Israeli military when they went to pick up these aid boxes at one of the 2 sites, the one near Rafah. What is happening is that the Israelis are also using this as an intelligence operation. They've snatched, kidnapped a number of Palestinians. They've interrogated them when they don't get the answers they want. They've disappeared them. They haven't given any mechanism for how people are supposed to line up or know where to go. What we're hearing from sources on the ground is that word just spreads via WhatsApp and text messages. Oh, there's going to be aid delivered in this place. People go there and it's just pure chaos. So none of this is by accident. This is by design. And you have on the one hand a pittance of aid that is being actually distributed relative to what is needed just to address the basic starvation factor in Gaza right now. And on the other hand, Israel is using this and the desperation of people to further dehumanize Palestinians. And when they go to try to desperately grab whatever aid they can, as we saw happen at a UN warehouse, then they say, well, Hamas is shooting starving people trying to get food. No, Israel has intentionally starved the population of Gaza now for 3 months. They have continued the campaign of dehumanization, and they're using food as a weapon of war in an effort to further dehumanize Palestinians. And the last thing I'll say about this is Netanyahu and Bezalel Smotrich, who's in the war cabinet, both said that the point of this is to lure Palestinians as though they're animals going into a cage, lure them with the bait of promise of aid, and then entrap them in the south of Gaza where they can either kill them in an increasingly shrinking killing cage or lock that cage and ship them off to another country. They call it Trump's plan, but actually it's been Netanyahu's life's work to try to erase Palestinians as a people and as a territory.
And that, to me, like that, his whole thing, I know we stopped it a few times, that whole thing from start to finish so perfectly encapsulates the entire situation that we're seeing with this aid right now.
What we should be seeing is the arrest and ultimately execution of Netanyahu, among other people. It just starts with him, but there are plenty of others that need to meet their demise. If there was a way to bring criminal charges against Wasserman Schultz, I would lead that effort. I think we should. I think she absolutely should be tried as a war criminal.
All of these people, her Ritchie Torres, all of them.
Well, anybody who has been an active participant, keep in mind, everyone will claim plausible deniability, but Wasserman Schultz in particular is somebody who has actively had a very, cordial is not even the right word. She has sought.
Oh, I'm sure she's giddy. She's giddy about him.
She has an intimate relationship with Netanyahu.
I wouldn't say intimate.
I'm not implying sexual.
She knows him personally. They're friends.
She knows him personally.
Oh, yeah.
There is definite mutual agreement there based on political ideology. I don't think that's even up for debate.
I just don't think there's any reason to single her out. Like for me, the line is much different. For me, and unfortunately, it includes Bernie. It includes anyone who has agreed to send money to the Zionist state after October 8th. If you have agreed to money going to the Zionist state after October 8th, you are complicit in a genocide. I don't care how progressive you are. I don't care how good you are about domestic policy and how well you talk about oligarchs. I don't give a shit. You agreed to send money to a Zionist entity committing a genocide. You are complicit.
You know,
end of story. And to me, it's equal. I don't care, other than the people that are literally making the plans.
I definitely agree. And, you know, that's a very good point, even though I think there's certain degrees that ones would be involved with this.
Of course. That's what of course.
And so one of the things that we wanted to point out here that you guys know where I stand regarding fellow content creator Emma Vigeland. I find her to be just the type of content creator that I personally am just not a fan of, because I've known her on a personal level. I don't like her. I don't like her because she's a spoiled little brat as far as I'm concerned. However, when she is right on an issue, I will 100% laud her and agree with her, because she does have a big platform. Sam Cedar affords her a tremendously large platform to get a, for the most part, populist, progressive message out there on key issues. I don't agree with her with the overwoke stuff, but when it comes to issues like healthcare, when it comes to issues like education, when it comes to the environment, when for the most part it comes to foreign policy, although I don't think she was right on Ukraine, Russia. I think she was probably NATO across the board, but she has been right overwhelmingly on the issue of Israel, Palestine until recently. Now, with that said, those of you who obviously are aware, there's only a couple of what you would call big races going on right now politically, but they are big nonetheless. There is the U.S. Senate race that is happening in Michigan, and that's going to be a big one. Michigan is obviously sort of a ground zero state for the whole Zionist Palestine issue that is coming to a head here. And so when you have somebody like Haley Stevens, who we covered the other day, who's a total, corporate whore for AIPAC, she doesn't really, well, frankly, she doesn't even embrace it. She's in total denial about it.
Her entire existence in Congress is a result of AIPAC forcing out Andy Levin because he wasn't Zio enough. He's just a liberal Zionist.
I mean, AIPAC gave her $3 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
So she's garbage. We know she's garbage. And I want to just say one more thing about Emma, because I've often very much appreciated how she's covered stuff. And this is, his issues with her are his issues. I don't have those issues. She has definitely been correct on Palestine. And of course I do in the scheme of the political universe, to me, even though I don't agree with them on a lot of stuff, especially things relating to partisan politics, I see Sam and Emma as people that are on my team. I don't see them as people working against me. So that's the thing. And I think that, and so I don't want to, but yet she's been right about Palestine. However, now,
one of the people that is running in this race, who is another political opportunist, and remember, the person that we are supporting, full stop, is Abdul El-Sayed, who is running for the U.S. Senate. And he is, of course, for Palestine, and he is against corporate special interest money in any of these races. Forget federal, just in politics in general. Now, Mallory McMorrow is another overwoke opportunist in the political arena. And Emma decided that she was going to point out that the vote splitting between El-Sayed and McMorrow feels very much like Katie Porter, Barbara Lee. I like McMorrow, but Michigan Democrats should get serious about a candidate who will draw a contrast with Stevens' AIPAC corruption and help heal Democrats' wounds with Muslim and Arab voters. Okay, there is a lot to unpack here with what Emma just said, and I want to be very clear about this. Let's start line by line. The vote splitting between El-Sayed and McMorrow feels very much like Katie Porter, Barbara Lee. Well, for starters, we didn't know what a Zio psychopath Katie Porter turned out to be. I mean, I certainly didn't see that coming. But what I do know is that at the time, it was obvious that it was a two-horse race for the California Senate between Adam Schiff and Katie Porter, and Barbara Lee decided not to drop out and not throw her weight behind Katie Porter. As a result, one of the biggest Zionazis in all of politics now sits in the U.S. Senate in California, and Adam
There was
Schiff.
a lot more to that story, though. Okay, you're leaving out a big portion of the story, which is the pack that Schiff created to propel that Republican to be able to take on. That was the whole point.
I agree with you, but in reality, if Barbara Lee, who was ultimately polling at I think 9 or 10 points, Schiff was at 27, 28, and Katie Porter was at 24, 25.
Right. Barbara Lee should have stepped out.
Obvious that she should have thrown her weight. But this is an example of when the establishment tells you that this is how it's going down, then you have to decide. And it doesn't matter that Barbara Lee is 78 years old. Barbara Lee wanted to be the mayor of Oakland, California. Do you think for 1 second, if Barbara Lee had dropped out and endorsed Katie Porter and screwed Adam Schiff out of a Senate seat, that she would have had any support from the Democratic Party to run for mayor of Oakland? Not a chance in hell. But
she wants to run for mayor? She's old.
She is the mayor. She is the mayor now of Oakland.
Oh, so old.
Doesn't matter.
No, they don't care. No, they don't care. They don't care.
These are the calculating decisions that people make at the expense of the working people of this country who are suffering every day. So, do I think that there is some degree of relation here between El Sayed and McMorrow? I guess. But
that sounds like Emma's saying that he's the one that should stay in.
Yes, she is. But
okay.
Here comes the next line. I like McMorrow, but Michigan Democrats should get serious about a candidate who will draw a contrast with Stevens' AIPAC corruption.
Okay.
Emma, are you forgetting that Mallory has pledged her undying love for the state of Israel? Are you forgetting that?
So she's not suggesting that. She's suggesting that he's the better alternative to challenge Haley Stevens, but she is still saying that she likes this other person. Is that
who has
why
made it completely clear that she supports Israel?
So why do you think she would even feel the need to put this out that she likes them? What's with that?
That's the whole thing that Jimmy has always been right about when he criticizes these other content creators. You get these people that are so caught up in the horse race bullshit of politics. I like this person. That person wouldn't piss on you if you were burning to death. I don't understand how people still have this illusion that these politicians like them. We saw firsthand, we showed you guys the clip of Haley Stevens trying to pretend that she had some semblance of humanity. Oh, let me kiss your baby. I really love your baby. Could you tell us why you're taking all that money from AIPAC? I gotta go.
That was awesome.
That's a person who cannot face reality, because when the reality smacks you in the face and you have to answer for what is real and what isn't, they can't answer for it because it flies in the face of why they are there. One of our friends, Ashley Stevens, on social media put out a great post and said, do you know why the Democratic Party spends millions of dollars on messaging? Because they will not do anything to disrupt their corporate funneling of capital into their party. They are just trying to figure out another way to lie to you to convince you to support the party. That's it.
And they really don't care if they win. That's also really important. We've talked about that before. The majority of this, everything that the Democratic Party does is only about raising money. They have to raise money for themselves and they have to raise money for all their friends in that class of people that exist, whether they win or not. Those people get paid lots and lots of money. Remember in Kamala's case, her campaign, which was 3 months plus or whatever, and she spent $500 million on staffing. See, those are the people that have to keep this facade going. So they don't care if they win. That's the whole thing. It doesn't matter. So, it doesn't matter when people always wonder, why don't they do better strategy? Why? If you don't care whether you win or not, you're getting paid either way. Who cares? That makes sense to me. If I was getting paid either way, I don't know that I would care.
And I also have to say, and this is important, look at the vote splits. Haley Stevens, 34, Abdul Sayed, 22, McMorrow, just under 14. Why would you think that if McMorrow drops out, that her votes are automatically going to go to al-Sayed? What makes you think that McMorrow, who is a total political opportunist of the highest order, is going to endorse the brown guy from Dearborn over the princess from the Detroit suburbs? Like, could you please explain to me, like I'm a 5-year-old, that this is what this person is going to do?
Well, I
'Cause
think
she's not
it's
gonna do it.
interesting. I think it's interesting that Emma thinks that she's more like him than she is like Haley Stevens. That she's more like, that doesn't even make sense. It also doesn't make sense why you would feel the need to point out how you like someone who's only polling at 13.7%.
And if that's not enough, if she were to drop out, she is almost assuredly going to endorse Haley Stevens. She is not going to endorse Abdul El-Sayed.
No. Oh my God, no.
So for Abdul, he actually just needs to make up ground and hope that McMorrow stays in the race. But I will assure you guys, as the day is long and we know that the Democratic Party is collapsing, if Abdul Saeed chips into Stevens's lead, the Democratic Party will put all the pressure in the world on McMorrow to drop out and endorse Stevens. And that is what will happen. Make no mistake. There is no angle here where Abdul Saeed is going to have a clear path to win. As far as I'm concerned, the only way he's going to have a chance, and again, the chance is very small because I think, as Jen has alluded to, the Democratic Party just doesn't care. It's not important to them. But I think this has to be a hostile takeover. Either Abdul El-Sayed becomes the nominee and becomes the next senator from Michigan, or you support the Republican and he gets in. And let me assure you, the Republican that is in this race, Mike Rogers, the congressman, I believe from the 9th District, he barely lost to the CIA operative, Alyssa Slotkin. Barely lost. 0.3%. He lost by less than 20,000 votes.
Yeah, so if you don't make a distinction, I think it's very interesting then that she is basically thinking that somehow Mallory McMorrow would be better than the person that's already there who's also a Zio. Like, I don't understand what Emma, that's what I don't understand. Why would you like someone that's exactly the same as what you're wanting to get rid of?
Because this is you want to call it triangulation. I really don't know what you would call this. All I know is that when push comes to shove, Emma, Sam, Crystal, Kyle, a whole bunch. And these are not bad people.
No.
But they're going to tell you to vote for the Democratic Party. That's what they're going to do.
They will, even without telling you, that's the direction they'll sort of be promoting. Yes, I know that.
It's the same thing.
But I would think that since she's been right on Palestine, that she would notice this difference between these candidates, because that's a pretty glaring difference.
Colin, do you have, and the last thing I will say before we pull up that graphic, which I think is important, and what Emma finishes with, which is fair, corruption and help heal democratic wounds within the Muslim and Arab voters. Let me assure you, two things. Number one, the Democrats do not give a shit about the Muslim and Arab vote at all. They take it for granted, but they're just as bigoted. They don't really care. And the things that are going to come out of the mouth of Haley Stevens over the course of this campaign, forget it. They accept, I am done with listening to liberals talk about how bigoted Republicans are. You're all the same.
Well, if you're a Zionist, if you support a Zionist, then you're, I mean, like, by it's de facto racism.
I agree.
So, I mean, if you're going to be saying you like someone who is a Zio, then you are saying you support someone who's a racist. It's the same thing. So, it really is. And if this is who she's promoting, that's not good. Even though she's been right on Israel, this is not good. And again, I don't think it doesn't sound like she's promoting her. But yeah.
Whether she's promoting her or whether she is inadvertently promoting her, when you say that you like somebody who's a politician, I would
Here's the
ask
truth, though, here, and this is the thing.
Yeah.
It's the same. That's the same thing.
That is the point.
Yeah.
And so what you have to ask yourself, where is the line? Is there a line? Is there a line where you say, no, I don't accept this? And as bad as things are right now, and things are very bad, I don't think anyone would disagree about how bad things are right now. But we've said it before, and we'll keep saying it. The big difference between Trump and Kamala is that at least with Trump, he's willing to take responsibility. He's willing to say that the buck stops with him. And occasionally he's going to shoot from the hip and a decision is going to be made based on what he thinks is best, even though we have a lot of roadblocks that we have to avoid right now. It does look like that this really big, beautiful bill is going to die in the Senate. It just is. Josh Hawley is going to run for president. He knows how bad this bill actually is. You've got Ron Johnson, who is as libertarian crazy in Wisconsin as it gets. He says he's a no vote. We are almost assured that Rand Paul is a no vote. So you're seeing how this bill is not going to pass. Did Colanello have some shit that he had to say to me? Everything out of your mouth is just anti-Democrat and don't.
We've got some stuff coming up that's anti what you would consider Republican. But the problem with you, Colanello, is you still think there's a difference.
Yeah,
it's all the same. That's the problem. You're the only one that's distinguishing between those two. There's no difference.
I still think it's funny that you have that Antifa flag and you're saying you're just anti-Democrat. You can't see the irony in what you say. You can't see it. I mean, come on, brother. I know you can.
Oh my God.
But the truth is that.
But we're gonna we're gonna go after Charlie Kirk too. So we've got some.
We are. We're
gonna hit one from both sides.
Exactly. But we can't continue before we acknowledge our wonderful supporters. So with that said, you guys remember, if you support our small but mighty channel, please go over to patreon.com/generational change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. As you know, we crossed over the 25,000 threshold. Do you know what percentage, Jen, of YouTube channels make it to 25,000 subscribers?
No, I don't.
1.5%.
Wow.
That's it. It's very small. We're totally elite. We're in the, you know what we are, Jen? We are in the 1%. You have entered the 1%, and that's not good.
I'm so annoyed with him. I don't even want to hear him anymore.
So with that said, for those of you who are here and have obviously supported us, thank you so very much. And to the people who have chipped in this evening. Chris Garrett, yes, thank you so much. You did chip in the $5. Donziger is a people's hero for sure. Rami, thank you so much for the $1.99 Canadian A. We really appreciate that. Yalabite with another $4.99. Thank you so much. Most Jews are anti-Zionists across the board. That's actually not true, unfortunately.
I don't know what the numbers are.
It's like it's.
And are you talking about American Jews? Because that's also very different.
Yeah, American Jews suck. They really do.
American, a lot of things suck.
Yeah, when it comes to Israel, unfortunately, in the wealthy pockets, it's really, really bad. But thankfully, they don't make up that big of a portion of our population. So you can at least take some solace in that. But the voices the Zios want to suppress are Jews. They are okay with Gentiles' criticism, but not Jews. Well, again, it's economics, baby. That's really what it comes down to. One of our most amazing people that we have met, Asma Ansari, thank you so much for the 1999 super sticker. Hope you're doing well. Hope the family's well. Really means a lot.
Let me know when you're done with super chats.
S. Kolachuk, thank you for the 5 Canadian A. I don't care if Pete thinks that Emma is a spoiled brat or whatever. It's pretty gossipy bullcrap and it's embarrassing. Hey, we're not going to agree on everything. That's the bottom line.
It wasn't my pick. Ask him. He knows, like he knew. I never want to talk about that stuff.
I don't like any of the horse race crap, and I don't like anybody pretending that there isn't a serious problem within the Democratic Party supporting these particular people. So if you're going to call out Haley Stevens, that's fine because she deserves it. But you got to call out Mallory McMorrow as well because she's just as pro-Israel as Haley is. She just doesn't have the money or the vote splits in order to get away with it.
Basically, here's the thing. I wanted it to be a teachable moment where we say, look, we appreciate your work on some things, but you are touting somebody that is the antithesis of what you yourself have been saying that you don't support, right? So we're just sort of, I'm viewing it as a teachable moment.
That's what it's supposed to be, because either you're going to get, that's the thing about genocide. Either you're going to get this right and you're going to do what's necessary to ensure that not only is there retribution for what has happened, but that it never happens again. Remember, there are two parts to this, guys. It's not just the liberation of the Palestinian people. It is undoing the stranglehold of the Israel lobby over our political and economic system. That is the biggest fight. Because even if we are able to liberate the Palestinian people, the power of Israel crosses over into so many different avenues.
Oh, yeah.
You have Netanyahu in 2002 sitting in front of the House Select Committee talking about how we must go into Iraq.
I knew it was bullshit then, by the way. I knew it was bullshit.
So did I.
All right. So listen, I don't get this comment. I'm not sure, but I don't understand.
S. Kolachuk with the 10 Canadian A. Thank you very much, Pete. If you're reading this, I don't care. It's not about you. I recommend the notion of right speech as it relates to ethical conduct and spiritual development. I don't know what you mean by that.
I don't either. I don't understand exactly what that is.
Whatever it is, I appreciate your feedback.
Thank you.
And again, this is like with Colanello. This is like with anybody who disagrees with us. We are not here to chastise. We are not here to tell you that you're wrong. We are here to disagree and tell you that this is where we stand. You can believe what you want to believe, but we are into the idea of free speech. You want to share your thoughts? That's fine.
Just don't be rude. It's why people get a bite if they're rude.
Yeah, and you could say whatever you want to me. Honestly, I don't care.
Yeah, no, I care. I don't want people being rude. So Donald James asks a question. I am not familiar with it. I just quickly looked it up. He says, I'm curious, what is your take on Ezra Klein's Abundance book and his claim? I am not familiar with it, so I can't really say, but I am a supporter of the whole concept of degrowth. And if it has anything to do with that concept, I probably would like it. But I haven't read that.
So just so you guys don't think that we are only one-siding this thing, because we're not. We want you to know that this is coming from both sides. There are terrible people involved in these discussions. You have Charlie Kirk, who has been funded by Turning Point USA, which is the Koch brothers' little pet project that they turned into something very big over the past decade plus. And this is what Charlie Kirk has to say regarding Muslims.
The question is macro Islam compatible with Western values? Macro. Of course it's not. There are three major reasons why. Islam does not believe in freedom of speech.
Since when?
Let him get a little further. Okay.
Islam does not believe in freedom of religion, and Islam does not believe in separation of mosque and state. Those three things are antithetical to the West. In a Muslim majority country, most Muslim majority countries, you cannot criticize the Prophet Muhammad. In most Muslim majority countries, you do not have the same robust freedom of religion protections. And finally, whereas we in the West are very careful to try to intermix religion and state, they are commanded.
We are? I am sitting here and everything that's coming out of his mouth is how I think of as like evangelical Christian shit that goes on in this country, where they don't care about free speech and they don't care about freedom of religion. They want prayer in schools and they don't want to hear certain things about gays or whatever they think might not be according to their values. How dare he sit here and say that it's Muslims that cannot get along with the concepts of free speech and free religion. I have yet to see a situation in this country where any sort of thing about wanting to impose your religious dogma nonsense on my child has come from the Muslim community. It's always from the Christian, right? Like evangelical, whatever aspect that is. It's always from that. I have not once seen a Muslim community trying to impose their religion on other people or banning other people's speech. So he's talking about what happens in their country and how they run their own government. Why is that his concern? Why is that his concern? What they do in other countries. And by the way, we're pretty friggin' authoritarian here now too. We're rounding people up off the streets that are citizens and sending them away. So I don't know what country he's living in, but to sit there and say that somehow Muslims are not compatible with the West. No. And I have got to just say it, Charlie, the West, us, we are not compatible with the rest of the world. And there's way more of them. That's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing. The caucasity of this man.
To actually go into the state and try to change the state to be more Islamic around the core pillars of Islam. And the last thing I'll finally say is I cannot see a single Western country that has become more Islamic and has become a better place to live that is happier or freer.
By what metric? Just happiness, quality of life?
Everything from quality of life, from cultural cohesion, from whether people want to live there, prior to the native-born fertility rates.
Again, people watching this will say is your criticism of the religion itself or not Muslim people? Because there are British Muslims who have been
You don't
born
have to caveat it all the time. I know you guys have to because you're British and all that. A culture.
What? I mean, honestly, that's
he's such a piece of shit.
You know, that's the type of thing that a Brit can get away with saying about an American. American talking to a Brit like they're some pseudo-intellectual. No, the Brits chastise and laugh at us because our formal education is dick compared to theirs.
And he's giving a prime example of it. Right now, you all are getting a master class in what is our education system here. And he probably went to really good schools, right? Didn't Charlie Kirk go to like good schools?
Total private trust. I mean, I don't know the whole extent.
And yet he's a complete ignoramus. So he's sitting here talking about what Muslims do and what that religion does. And so far, every single thing that he has said is stuff that is done by Christians and the Christian right, and that is pushed by them. I don't know where he's living, but
this is a prime example of the worst kind of American exceptionalism. That's what it is. Oh, you guys, you think you know this, you think you know that. Well, they know more than you. That's kind of how it is.
Ceases to exist. We don't have unified language. When you cannot talk to your neighbor. I'm not discounting that there are good individual Muslims. The question that we need to reckon with the West is Mohammedism compatible with the.
What is Mohammedism? He just made that up.
The level of it. Well, here's the thing, Charlie. There are 3 Abrahamic religions, 3 of them. And interestingly, the latest one being Islam actually recognizes, honors, and incorporates the other 2. See, so what you're asking is, are Muslims, do they live, that they somehow are not compatible, but yet they live in the most Christ-like manner of anyone that I know? Practicing Muslims are, to the fault of being square. And so I don't know who he's talking about, that's not compatible. They incorporate Christianity and a lot of aspects of that because they view Jesus as a prophet, just like they view Muhammad as the last prophet. So you're so ignorant. It's totally.
It's not just that he's ignorant. It's that he's playing a role. He's pretending to be. The difference between somebody like Charlie Kirk and somebody like Ben Shapiro is a true believer. Like, he's a total Zionist psychopath. Charlie Kirk he's just a whore. Like, he's such a whore in the worst way. Like, there is nothing he will not say for that money. And when you build an empire like he has with Turning Point USA, who in the hell do you think is funding that organization? Well, we're going to finish out what Charlie has to say, and then we are going to show you guys exactly who is funding Turning Point USA. You're going to get a kick out of that.
Teachings of Blackstone. Is it compatible with the legacy of Wilberforce?
All right.
And the great thinkers that have come from this country? And I will say, no, there's a reason why when you go to these Islamic countries, that you're not going to see the equal protection of rights, that you do not believe in universal human equality, that you do not believe the same things that we believe in the West. And I think it's suicidal to import millions of them.
Yeah, and you know what?
You're a fucking moron. Do you know why you don't see those things? They had those things. They had those things. A lot of those countries had those things at different eras, Charlie. But what happened is that white people came in, the West came in, dominated them, overthrew democratically elected people, took over and turned their countries into our war zones. See, that's what happened. See, people in that region were doing math, Charlie, when your people were like still plasma. You fucking moron. I just can't. The caucasity.
And he's stupid on purpose.
Just on a passing point on that, it's most of the time, as far as I'm concerned, it's not even multicultural, because there was an example there was a school a few months ago during Easter which cancelled Easter celebrations out of respect for other faiths. So it's not as if the word multicultural and multi-diverse doesn't include Christianity.
No, and again, this is the red-green axis, and Britain is at the forefront of this. You have the Marxists that have infiltrated your government and the Islamists that are coming to your country. And when they combine together, they both agree on one thing. They have huge disagreements on a lot. They hate the West, and they want to see it broken.
Okay, we're finished.
Yeah, we're finished.
Charlie.
We're finished, all right.
No. Oppressed people that are tired of Western hegemony and white supremacy, they want to see our time end as being that hegemony. Yes, they probably do feel that way, but it isn't because they hate our life. A lot of these people that you're talking about want to be here and live here. I don't know what you are so ignorant.
No, that's ignorant. That's
right,
ignorant.
Make him go away.
So if you're wondering, and I'm sure a lot of you are.
Yeah, Marxist. By the way, Charlie, we're already here. We're here.
Yeah. So his organization, Turning Point USA, which has paid him very handsomely for many years. I don't know what his salary is, although I would imagine that it's pretty sizable, to say the least. These are the variety of different people that fund this organization. Turning Point Action Incorporated, Phoenix, Arizona, $300,000. Richard Kurtz, Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, Wrights Impact Window and Door, $250,000. Turning Point USA Action in Phoenix again, $250,000. John Childs of Vero Beach. Hey, right up the road, Jen. J.W. Childs. I wonder if that has to do with the J.W. Marriott Association. It might. $100,000. Turning Point USA Action again, $100,000. Michael Ryden, the heavy construction system specialist, $95,000.
What do all these things have in common? Like, what's the common denominator here of these donors?
Corporate special interests. Heavy.
Of course. Well, who did you think he was fighting for the people? Did you think Charlie Kirk was out there fighting for the least of these?
It just goes on and on. And this is just one nonprofit, if you will, within this big industrial complex.
Here we go. Exactly. Thank you.
We have said from our personal experience, and I believe this, the best experience I've ever had inside what you would call a house of worship is a mosque, period. And the way that they treat people as equals within those walls, I think, is what separates the Muslims from the other Abrahamic religions. With that said, there is also something to be addressed regarding the fact that Islam does not prioritize capitalism the way that Judeo-Christian values do. I'm sorry, we probably cannot compete with Max Blumenthal.
I am going to message him though and see if I can get him on when I get back, and see if I can't, like, maybe if I don't know, be a little naggy. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, that is something that I think we've been working on for a while, and we will see what happens. But as proof is in the pudding, and this is the reason why we do a clip on Emma, and now we do a clip on Charlie. Both are going to try to funnel you into that two-party duopoly. That's the intention. When we have to realize that electoral politics is not what's going to solve this problem. And as I believe our longtime friend and supporter, Colanello, has to say, the really big, beautiful bill would be the single largest transfer of wealth from the bottom to the top we have ever seen. Kind of like the CARES Act. Only this one just continues the same problem. However, I do believe this bill is going to die in the Senate because the cuts to Medicaid is political suicide. I don't see how Ron Johnson's going to support it. I don't see how Josh Hawley is going to support it. I don't see how Rand Paul is going to support it. And they will probably get one more senator to ultimately not support it because, again, there's nothing to gain by doing it. You could change the bill, which is likely what will happen. It will not pass the Senate, or it'll be rewritten in the Senate, as John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader from South Dakota, has indicated is what's going to happen. And then they're going to have to do it all over again in the House. So this is an example of, yeah, it sucks, but the can's going to get kicked down the road again. That's the way it is. And that in itself also speaks to what I believe is the bigger problem here pertaining to why do we never have anything good happen to us? Why are they cutting bills with Medicaid? The Democrats are not coming out saying, we're going to support single-payer health care, universal health care, and you're never going to have to worry about this ever again. Instead, what they're going to say is, elect us and we'll restore your Medicaid that you had previously.
That's the whole point. That's the whole game. That's the whole facade. It's the whole political theater. That's the McResistance. They don't actually advance anything. What they do is they sit there as the one side takes away your stuff, and then they campaign on, well, we can maybe get that stuff back for you. Maybe not, but we'll try to get that stuff back for you. So then you vote for them out of hope, and then yet some more stuff still goes, right? Like nothing ever really happens.
Progressive lefty, we couldn't agree with you more. Max is great, and we certainly hope to get him on. It's been a long time coming. I know we've tried really hard to get him on the show, scheduling-wise. It just has not worked out, but we will keep trying.
Yeah.
As we have said, the tide is definitely turning. I think it's fair to say, Chip, that the tide is turning.
I hope so. I hope so. It's just not fast enough, and it's just the damage is so significant, and I don't even mean to the people in Gaza. I mean to the world. Like what effect this has on the world outside of that is we're not going to know. We're not going to really know for a long time. It'll be generational. Really, it will.
Yeah. It is, and there will be the after effect of what's going to happen post everything that eventually gets discovered.
I'm traumatized.
Yeah.
I am traumatized. And I can only say, like, I'm very thankful that both of my kids are adults already, that I haven't had to be where I am now mentally with like littles, because I don't know how I would be able to be functioning with littles where I'm at. It's very dark. And there's no way that this level of trauma is not impacting people as parents all over the place. And I mean, I could just honestly, all I have to do is look at Miss Rachel. Just look at Miss Rachel. This is something that is a trauma across the world.
Donald James, let me say this, and I'll give you a good example. So let's just assume that Sam and Emma are not actively advocating that everybody go out and vote for just.
I even said that. I said that before. They might not tell you to do it, but that's the message.
Okay. So here's something that would prove whether or not they actually understand this moment and what needs to be done right now. So let's assume that they do support electoral politics. I still support it. I support it at the local level where the greatest impact typically happens is at home. That's where you can have the greatest impact. But do you really think that Emma and Sam are going to advocate for Butch Ware in California on the Green Party ticket?
No.
They're not going to.
No.
If they do, I'll be shocked. And I'd
be so pleased. Like, I'd be so pleased, but no.
I mean, you're talking about a real opportunity to have an impact, to make a change, because he's a revolutionary. He's that type of person who could actually move the needle and in a very profound kind of way.
That's how I feel about the gentleman that I thought you were talking about that was running for Senate that I want to run for governor.
Yeah. And there is no question that supporting Zohran is an easy fix. But make no mistake, Zohran's not perfect. Zohran did, in oppressors, say that Israel has the right to exist. Now, he, of course, is in favor of Palestinian liberation, ending the genocide. And
legally, it does.
Yeah.
Ethically, it does not.
Correct. So nothing's perfect, but we certainly appreciate them supporting Zohran. I think Zohran has a chance. I do. It's going to depend on how they effectively utilize the ranked choice voting system. And they're going to have to figure out some type of a coalition, because if they don't, Cuomo will win because he's going to. That's going to matter. I'm not backing AOC because I know that she hasn't been right.
Don't mess with the Zohran.
Even though that's as pro-Israel a movie as Adam
Okay,
Sandler.
it is, but it isn't. It is, but it isn't. And I will say, like, because I remember seeing that, and it was so clearly, and I grew up around a lot of Israeli stuff and people. That movie is so insanely accurate that it's haunting.
I've never seen it because I'm just gotten tired of
So I mean, it's a farce, but the farce is based on it could not be more real.
Colinello, go check out the clip that we just did on AOC.
I didn't say that was a sign of anything. We simply saw somebody in the chat said that they were supporting AOC. Ask him if that's his sign. I don't have a sign. I'm a Taurus.
Just go and check out the clip that we put up there so you'll get a better understanding. Maximus, thank you so much for the $4.99. I wish my Jewish friends were like you. Mine are Zionists, and they didn't hesitate to talk about 40 beheaded babies and fake rapes. No mention of GA. Jen, you grew up with Sheryl Sandberg.
I did. Unfortunately, they don't step outside their echo chamber, and they refuse to acknowledge facts. They are being willfully ignorant, which is, to me, inexcusable. That's one of the problems. Again, I can forgive the actually ignorant. The actually ignorant, and I know people, I've met lots of people that are actually ignorant. It's different than the people that are willfully ignorant. It's very, very different.
Donald, you got to stop with this extreme language. That's not what we're saying. We're not saying...
I'm saying to cancel her.
No.
We're just saying at the end of the day, and here's the thing, go back to what I said earlier, Donald James, because this is really what it comes down to for me. If you are a member of Congress and you voted to send any money to the genocidal Zionist state after October 8th, you are complicit in a genocide. And I do not care how progressive you are. So to me, what you're talking about is like counting how many angels can dance on the head of the pin. It's irrelevant. Like she might be the best you got, but she supported genocide and continues to do so.
Well, Saul, it's not all good. It's just not. And if you know what, to you, brother, if you support Alex,
if she's your congressperson, you have the right to vote for her. All the power to you, man.
I mean, I'm not going to
say that she's not my congressperson, so it doesn't really matter what I think about her.
The one thing I will say in defense of our, more, friendly people within, sort of like, let's say, the confines of still supporting the progressives in the Democratic Party. We know who you guys are in the chat. Donald, Colinello, Saul.
Stop saying we're canceling her. If we were canceling her, we wouldn't even be talking about her. The mere fact that we're talking about her means that she's not canceled, isn't it?
See, David Hunter has it right. You can't put this type of language out there and think that there will not be consequences to that.
I'm never getting past it.
Yeah, that will make the difference. And she could. The reason we criticize Alex as much as anybody is because she actually could make an impact. If
she had the opportunity to be the fucking Mockingjay. And instead, she became Nancy Pelosi wannabe.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. And no matter how many ways you turn it, she supported genocide. She's still saying that a genocidal state has the right to defend itself in reference to ethnic cleansing and genocide. So there's no way you're going to spin her and make that okay.
Here's why we don't lose, and and let me explain this. So why do you guys think, for example, that all of a sudden what appeared to be the really big, beautiful bill is now potentially cratering on failure? Why do you think that happened? It isn't because the people just decided, oh, we're going to go out there and support this politician. No, it's because we, the people, are sharpening their pitchforks and polishing their guns because there is a threat to their livelihoods being taken away from them. There are millions of people who rely on Medicaid just to survive. And as far as the Democrats are concerned, their attitude is, we want Medicaid to get taken away because that'll be a boondoggle for us politically. And that's what they're counting on. The Republicans, they want to give their big, beautiful tax breaks to the super rich. And all the while, for at least a couple of years, maybe more, people are going to suffer mightily if this bill goes through. So what do? You can't just go and vote it out at the ballot box. What do? The people get organized. If you even think about taking away our Medicaid, we are going to put your head on a spigot, is what they're telling them. So that's why Josh Hawley has come out, because we all know Josh Hawley is running for president. Everyone fucking knows that. So he comes out and says, I'm not backing this bill. Ron Johnson, Mr. Ron Austerity Hawk Johnson out of Wisconsin, I'm not backing this bill. Rand Paul has made it very clear, more than likely he's not going to support it. And then it's just one vote. And then the bill's dead. So as far as I'm concerned, it's all about how people are empowered outside of the electoral system. That's what happens. This is why we're pushing for efforts outside of the two-party duopoly. That's what it's about. So it's not about canceling anybody. It's about recognizing that when push comes to shove, we have to take the leverage from wherever we can get it. And right now, Piers Morgan is deciding to use that leverage in a very profound way. Now, we thought it was a big deal a week ago when he agreed with Mehdi Hassan regarding what Israel is doing. Now, it's one thing to make that statement to somebody like Mehdi Hassan, who we know was willing to give up his job at MSNBC to support the Palestinian people. With that said, Piers Morgan interviewed, what's this lady's name, Jen? Do you know?
Zio bitch?
Yeah, Zio. But Zio bitch works.
Zio bitch.
Okay. So Piers Morgan interviewed the Israeli ambassador to the UK, also known as Zio bitch, and this is what went down.
Years ago, you have 2 doctors in Gaza who have 10 children, and 9 of them are killed in a bombardment by your forces. That doesn't make people feel, oh, this is all going great. It makes people think that you're waging a systematic destruction, not just of property and of land, but also of children. And that's what's happening. The percentage of children that you're killing compared to the percentage of you're killing of Hamas terrorists, what is it? Do you know? Do you know how many children you've killed? Well, hang on. Answer me that one question. Do you know how many Hamas terrorists you've killed and how many children you've killed? Do you know there's 2 numbers?
I know the numbers that came from the IDF. I know the numbers that came from a very established
give me the two numbers.
An established think tank.
We killed 30,000.
I mean, it takes a lot of guts to actually say an established think tank, because they would have no financial incentive to lie. Am I right?
Well, I mean, I've been saying it since before. I've been saying it for years. You know that Israel is lying when their lips are moving.
Piers is not allowing her to dance, but she wants to dance. And I think you said her name was Tipsy.
Here's the thing, and I get everybody's hate towards Piers. Not a fan. I think he's disgusting, and I do not like him at all. However, his platform and his people seeing this is important. His people and his followers seeing him change is important. Him using his platform and actually speaking back when no other commentators really ever speak back against the Zio people. They don't. So as much as I don't like him, and I don't, it's important that his platform sees this.
numbers.
We killed 30,000 terrorists in phase 1 of the war. Since the war is back, I don't have the numbers. But let me tell you one.
You don't have the numbers.
The 30,000 people that she's referring to are all the people. That was the number from the first phase. That was like the beginning, was all the people. So in other words, all of the people that they've killed are terrorists. That's their perception. Keep that in mind.
One thing.
And how many children have you killed?
We never target civilians. So
Never? Never.
Oh my God.
In 19 months, 19 months, never targeted a civilian? Not one time? I just don't know how they can lie like this. I mean, it really does require you to basically be inhuman.
Travers, I agree. He's absolutely worried about being in the Hague, not in the Hague, but being like, he's definitely worried about getting right on this before it's too late. He is definitely like a rat that's jumping ship, no doubt. But again, important.
This question is irrelevant.
How many children have you killed?
Piers.
I mean, now he's going for the throat, because it's not even about.
He's not letting her out. He's not letting her off. And I love
it's
that.
like, it's not about the civilians now. Now it's about, you're murdering kids, and we know you're doing it, and we know you've been doing it. And he's using his multi-million subscriber platform to get this message out there.
Think about this, okay? So first they came at Miss Rachel, and now she is like this outspoken advocate for something, and her platform is ginormous. And now you have someone like Piers Morgan, who is going to use his platform and go after it, because he actually sees that this could be a good look for him. So
agreed.
Israel is not killing children. Israel is not killing children.
They're not.
Within that 30,000 number that she gave in the beginning of the terrorists that they killed in the first phase, the Hamas people, of that 30,000, more than 50% were children of the people she's referring to. It's not like there's this whole other category of 30,000 terrorists that they killed that's in addition to all these people. I can't. This is just so ridiculous.
As our friend Mr. Donziger said at the top, the number could be as high, realistically, of 350,000 people are now dead. It could be as high as 500,000.
I've been saying that for a while, just based on watching the news for the past 20 months. Every person who's needed treatment, every person who's had cancer, every dialysis patient, every person who would have a normal procedure, but they don't have anesthesia, they don't have antibiotics, they don't have stuff. All of those deaths over 19 months and now over 90 days of starvation are not counted in their numbers. So the bulk of people that die in a genocide, in a Holocaust, are not the ones who were shot execution style. It's through things like starvation and disease. It is an absolute method of war. So this is, her number is ridiculous anyway.
Agreed.
Hamas is using them as
Israel is
human
killing
shields.
children every single day.
Piers, this is a blood label you're putting on Israel.
Why
You know it's
pretend-
not.
Blood libel.
Blood label is how it comes out of her mouth. But now it's a blood libel.
Blood libel.
So basically, she's saying that you're lying about us, and we're going to sue you for libel for saying that.
Bring it.
Who's taking
No,
that?
I'd love that. I would love every single time one of these people says blood libel, I want them to bring that suit.
Oh, please.
I would love it.
I agree.
Not true.
What? No, it's not actually. And what you're trying to do is be very weaselly with your words.
No, I'm not.
The truth is, you are killing a lot of children. You would argue you're
doing. You know why it's caused?
Hang on, let me
Because
finish.
Hamas is using them as human shields, and you know
Let me
that.
finish my question to you.
Still going with that line of human shields.
Yeah, but he's still going, but he's going at her. And this is not, we don't normally see Zio pieces getting called out.
You are killing a lot of children on a daily basis. That is indisputable. My interesting
He didn't let her say no, but and he did at one point though, I saw brought up, well, it's interesting how you know how many Hamas terrorists you've killed, but you don't know how many civilians. That's, not of course from such a capable armed forces.
We're not going to
sue for blood libel. Well, you would sue for libel.
Correct.
But
we're not going to be able to cover this while Jen is here, but I am going to cover it next week. By the way, guys, my first guest host is going to be Ron Placone. He will join us on Monday. And then my friend Amy C3 will join us on Thursday.
Nice.
We're waiting to hear back from our good friends over at Due Dissonance, potentially for the 9th. And then good old Stevie Mr. Grumbine is going to be with us on the 12th or the 16th. I don't remember which date that is, but yeah, so it's filling up quick.
Nobody will even notice I'm gone.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe people won't really notice.
I don't know if they would. Well, as long as you're going to be sending over some good stuff for us to talk about, I think that'll be important.
I'll make some good clips. Yeah.
But I do think that the point.
Do you want political clips or do you want like Ireland scenery clips?
I think you could do both. I think if you have a chance to run into Travers and go to that pub in Cork or whatever and meet that tea guy.
He's not going to be there when I'm there. Travers, you're not going to be there when I'm there.
Oh, that's too bad.
He's going to be back in. Yeah. He's an Irishman in Scotland.
An Irishman in Scotland.
Yeah.
Did you like that smooth transition in the accent? Jen, they're digging the watermelon earrings.
Thank you. I'm glad they read watermelon because sometimes when I look at them, I feel like they kind of could look like pizza slices, but I am glad they read watermelon.
Josie, good luck to your Knicks, but it's not looking too good right now. But we'll see. Never say never.
I'm not following it yet. I got to get once I get my little moved into school in August 22nd, I'll be able to focus a lot more on whatever it is we're doing here. But yeah, I am very excited to go. Right now, I don't have plans. I'd love to do that. You know what? I haven't really reached out to anybody about this. It's been just kind of my own thing because I don't want to have plans. Because when I'm in Ireland, I'm by myself. I don't even have kids. It's just me. Like, I don't even want to have plans. I don't know if anybody can appreciate that. So it isn't really like a personal thing. It's just, yeah.
We do have one more story that we want to cover. And I think you guys would appreciate a little reminder of why at the beginning, Wanker Tanker, at the beginning.
Go back and watch when we're done. We had to start early to accommodate Steve's schedule. So
it's a little, we suffered in our numbers today because we started at the wrong time. But
it wouldn't matter because now Sabby's live with Max.
That's true. So a lot of people are going to be ditching us, but
that's okay, guys. I would ditch us for Max too.
Geez, why don't you go now? I'll do this myself. Goodbye. We did not want to forget about our other hero, Luigi Mangione. And when we talk about Mangione monetary theory, one of the reasons why we are huge advocates for single-payer healthcare isn't just because we know that the Democratic Party is okay with the Republicans cutting Medicaid if it will help them politically. If we had single-payer, if we had universal healthcare, this wouldn't be an issue. And so here's an interesting story that you guys may not be aware of regarding UnitedHealth and who is actually behind funding UnitedHealth.
I don't understand how people aren't more pissed off about this. Let's play a game. Let's see what this has to do with this. And trust me, things are going to get progressively worse and worse. So Nestle has been in the news lately because of a lawsuit regarding Poland spring water. So the issue is they said the water came from a spring, but it doesn't, which is fraud. Poland spring water is no longer owned by Nestle. That doesn't absolve them from the fraud that they committed, though. But here's how it gets worse. Let's keep talking about Nestle. Did you know that the United States is one of 8 countries that does not have a federally mandated paid leave for new mothers? All these other countries, it is legally required, but in the US, it's not. Why? Well, Nestle is one of the biggest players when it comes to baby formula. They make a lot of money from formula, which is why they spend insane amounts of money lobbying against a federally mandated paid maternity leave.
Do you know what would have a paid maternity leave? Universal health care. Just
a
saying.
lot of things. And just if people aren't aware with the history of Nestle, it's so bad. What they did in Africa, how they treated communities there and new mothers there, and what happened there. It's just peddling their formula shit instead of breast milk. And yeah, they're pretty friggin' evil. Basically, Nestle steals our water and sells it back to us. That's one of their things. But anyway.
Why is this? Well, Nestle knows if you're not home with your baby, you're probably going to need formula to feed it. They are actively paying to separate parents from children so that they can sell more product. How does it get worse? Thank you so much for asking. Did you know that Nestle used to dress up salespeople as doctors, and they would send them to third world countries under the guise that this is a doctor promoting their formula to these parents?
That's what I was talking about. This goes way back. Like I remember that being a thing when I was a kid.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes, they would go to countries in Africa and they would like pretending to be medical people and get these indigenous women and tribal women to put their babies on formula. And then of course their milk dries up and then they stop supplying them with the formula. So now they can't afford to buy the formula. And now they're completely dependent on whatever subsidy or whatever thing. And that's how they control populations and tribes.
Well,
you didn't know that? They basically made it so that these women couldn't. Well, you say here that we'll give you this amount of formula, but then their milk dries up and now they're not giving them any more formula. And they can't afford it. So babies died. That's what happens. If you dry up the breast milk and you stop giving people their formula subsidies and they can't afford to buy it, the babies die. That's what happens. So that's what happened in Africa.
Well, just remember the CEO of Nestle did say that water is not a right. So,
excuse me, our Pete Buttigieg said that water isn't a right. He said, well, we're a capitalist system. So, them's the breaks.
Yeah, that's pretty unethical, right? Cosplaying as a doctor so that people trust you. The issue is these people in third world countries did not have access to clean water. Yeah, so the conservative estimates is that kills about 212,000 infants per year with 10.9 million since 1960. They don't care about your girl.
No.
Did I send you this?
Yes.
Okay, because I get these sort of things. Here I want to correct Skywalk Trees. And they buy water to sell it back to people. No, they steal our water.
Yeah.
Because this is one thing that happens actually in Florida, because Florida has a lot of natural springs. In fact, it might have the most natural springs in the country. And Nestle has finagled its way through subsidization and buying off people in Tallahassee and whatever they do. They don't buy the water. They steal it and then sell it back to us. And I love it because they do it even in our own store, all the store. And if it doesn't say Nestle, it still could be a subsidiary of Nestle.
Pretty sucky. Colin, can you...
this is when I really want to promote Mangione monetary theory.
Colin, can you please pull up the graphic that I sent you about Luigi and
Bye,
UnitedHealth?
Thomas. Say hi to Sabby.
Thanks for being here, Thomas. And of course, we hope you guys will check in after the live stream and comment, which would be awesome.
I agree. The lies about October 7th is blood libel about Palestinians. Agreed. And at least I will say that as a group. And I do know that there were definitely people that went over there and probably did a whole bunch of evil shit, which again, don't know. But yeah.
Colin, did you hear what I said?
I don't know. Colin, are you there?
Colin,
I'm looking. I don't see anything else you sent me. If you could send it again.
What was this one, Peter?
It was the, one sec. I know I sent it to you. It was God damn it. It was like a graphic thing that I found. I may have taken a screenshot of it. So let me I think that'll probably be the easiest way. So,
and this is about the healthcare thing.
Yep. Okay. So I think this is yeah. All right. So this is from More Perfect Union.
Oh, Brett, it's okay, Sabby. It's all friends. I don't care. I want people to go over there and hear what Max has to say, and everybody should mix it up. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's not remotely. That's fine. I like that there's cross collab, and I like that we share audience with people like that. It's solidarity.
Yeah. Colin, I sent you the image. So we just use that, which is fine. And it basically, you've been saying for a while that Mangione monetary theory is something that is going to be practiced a lot more.
We're seeing it. It's inevitable. Those who make nonviolent resistance impossible make violent action inevitable. And I again, I've been saying it for a long time. I myself am not currently violent and I am not armed, but yeah, that's the direction that everybody's going to be going. And the more look, if you've got how many people can't afford a $400 emergency, whatever that number is that amount of people that are just this close to falling off of a cliff psychologically. Seriously. And I can't vouch for what I would do if I were in that position, and nobody else should either. And that's what we're looking at. When you have that many people that are that close to losing everything and that close to being unhoused and that all of it, I don't judge how people react to being treated violently by our oppressor. I don't look. People have the right to resist violence by their oppressor by any means necessary. And make no mistake, denial of services, denial of healthcare is violence.
Colin, did you get my image?
Yeah, I typed in chat. It's an overlay.
All right.
When it's an overlay, that's fine. Do it.
I know. It's fine. All right. So this, I think you guys will understand, is why Mangione monetary theory kind of needs to be practiced at this point. So here we have investors in UnitedHealth are suing the company for providing too much care. They're upset that UnitedHealth got less aggressive in denying care after their CEO was murdered. And that is, as a result, they're making less money from the health insurance giant. So what does that tell us?
That they're following the law. They are legally required as a corporation to maximize profits for shareholders. That's their legal obligation. So to criticize them for suing for what is their legal thing, I mean, that's not the problem, right? It's absurd. The whole thing is absurd. But I can't fault people for suing people to do what they're supposed to do.
I agree with that. But what
I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, I find it all disgusting. I shouldn't think it exists. And it goes to show you how depraved shareholders are.
Yes, but it also speaks to a bigger problem, which is we are the only major developed country on earth that has a for-profit health system. That's it. I mean, it can't be more clear-cut than that. I don't know what more people need to see other than when anyone says, oh, we can't have healthcare, oh, no, that would be absolutely terrible. It can't get worse than this. They're telling you, no, we need you to kill more people so that we can make our numbers. That's it.
Yes. They don't care about that. I mean.
So when I hear people say, oh, I don't agree with what Luigi did or didn't do, what I would ask then is, are you okay with Brian Thompson? Do you know it is so much easier to prove that Brian Thompson was a mass murderer than it is to prove that Luigi did anything wrong?
Of course. Of course. But that's not, we don't view it that way. And even if we did, let's say hypothetically he wasn't dead and we did want to say, okay, well, he did kill all those people. We allow criminals to buy their way out of criminal liability in this country. And he is the kind of person that would buy his way out of criminal liability. But somebody said something like, should people do that? Like, you know, I don't know where I saw somebody ask a question, but I actually think honestly that people have the right to stand up to their violent oppressor by any means necessary to get what they have coming to them. But like, I'm sorry, I do. And yeah.
As much as I don't want to laugh at that, it is tragically true.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't know how many people want to move there now.
I know I wouldn't.
Well,
Jen, any final parting thoughts before you head off to another foreign land?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be within touch. I just not going to be on the same timeline. I don't want to, be up in the middle of the night to do the show. But
Well, what have we learned about our whole experience doing generational change up until this point and the next evolution?
oh yeah, well, and I don't really feel like it's changing. It's not like we're really changing. So we're going to have a new look. Speaking of which, I just got the email with all of our stuff. So we're going to have a new look. We're going to have like a rebrand. And I think it's important for people to not get stale and to not just stick with something if it's not where they are. And I'm just not where I was, I look at the logo with the sun, and it's just not where I'm at now. It just isn't. It does not reflect what I'm trying to do.
Blood moon at this point.
Kind of. I mean, it's just different now. We've changed, we've grown, but our show is, other than adding some like cool, yes, we're going to say goodbye to that.
How to rock it out tonight.
Yeah. But we're going to have merch. We're going to have all that stuff. We're going to do things a little bit differently, but we're still going to be us and cover the same kind of stuff that we cover, just with, a little bit of a facelift.
All sounds fine to me. Guys, it's been truly a pleasure as a team to be able to bring this to you. The next evolution is coming, but you'll have to deal with me for the next 6 episodes.
3 whole weeks I'm going to be gone.
Yeah, Jen's going to be flying high.
I'm not psyched about the whole flying experience, especially since I don't think we have any FAA regulations anymore. Like, I don't know what's happening. It's like, I'm a little bit, I'm not as comfortable.
We'll have new merch. We'll have lots of things, but smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do.
And I will see you guys on June 23rd. We will be talking with Norman Finkelstein.
We'll have plenty of wonderful guests lined up. We appreciate you all. Have a wonderful evening. And I will see you Monday.